Hello, YouTube. It has been an incredible year for Nvidia bulls, and we're currently up by 222.4% so far this year. So today is going to be about Nvidia. We're going to look through and see that as of yesterday, Nvidia was up by 217% or 222 now so far this year. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight in and see what those numbers are. Nvidia reports 88% jump in revenue and tops estimates driven by demand for AI chips. Let's just look at the earnings and we'll look at the chart because that's what we care about here. Earnings 270 is a crush versus the $2.09 which were expected. Revenue 13.51 crushes the 11.22 expected. And why does all this matter? Well, it matters for a few reasons. There's also going to be a $25 billion share buyback. That's going to be a big deal. It's a big boy. It's $25 billion. But what's so incredible to me is just if we look here a little bit closer at the earnings curve for Nvidia. So last quarter, which was the when we had that monster crush, and as you can note in the title, sorry, in the thumbnail, we're showing here that it's been an incredible run for Nvidia, right? Pretty much just Nike doing it and going up, and that could be attributed maybe in part to this EPS curve. And all that means is that last quarter they told us, man, we're going to do almost twice as much as what you expect. The estimate was for 92 cents. Now they're expecting 2. So from an earnings perspective, oh my goodness, did they deliver? That is good. And because Nvidia is expensive, currently at about 237 PE, that is now going to start to compress that number. I think that's part of what's so incredible here. And what we have to think about is that when a chart makes it to blue sky territory, which is where we are right now, by being above 346.47, it just means it's easier to go higher. So what happens on earnings? Well, we just keep going higher. So I'm quite surprised, and I'm wondering whether we're going to leave another shelf here, meaning we're actually going to go higher, or if we're eventually going to come down and form some kind of back test like we did here, which would mean going some kind of sideways where I'm not entirely sure. But here's what I will be watching for. So we went through a few things now. I'm going to ask you for a huge favor before we go further. I'm going to ask you to please consider subscribing to the channel and smashing that thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. And that's just because we want you to be a part of our YouTube community. And I'm going to thank you ahead of time. So thank you so much. All right, moving forward. So this is really important because we were talking about, let's actually go back here to NVDA on a 3-minute chart. I'm just looking at a short-term time frame here to see the moving after hours is just up, more up, and then flagging out. Currently settling here at about $505 and maybe a little bit of change. But I want to focus on what's happening to S&P because this is very important to the template that we laid out. Let's look at 2 charts. First one here is going to be SPY. So where are we? Man, we're right here at our neckline for our head and shoulders. We're also right here at our 50 DMA. 444.7 in post market. We're at 444.6. That is so close, which means that now we have to wonder whether or not we're actually going to pass and get back above this 50 DMA, or if we're not, and that's going to be the area where we go lower. So Nvidia is clearly the leader because, oh my goodness, without Nvidia, man, the market would be going down. We would be with the rest of the club below the 50 DMA, and we'll look at that in a few minutes here. But anyways, we laid out the bearish scenario and the bullish scenario, and yeah, it looks like I've been flipped and I've been flopping. Why? Well, because the market is flip-flopping too. We have a bullish scenario we laid out here. Yesterday, it looked like there was no more juice in the tank for the bulls. Well, today there's juice. So it's so interesting what a day or some price action can do. And the other thing that really changed here is just that the 10-year note went down by 3%. So the thing I was so worried about, maybe I'm just a scaredy pants, right? Maybe I'm just a big old baby, or maybe it's going to be delayed. I just don't know. So we broke over, made a new 52-week high, which is a very strong crash signal for me. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm also not going to say the week is over and call it quits now and say time to go all in. I have insurance right now. I'm not naive to the fact that we can definitely go higher, but my target's now been met. So this is kind of what I was expecting for the dead cat bounce. So for the S&P, target met. Where we go from here, I'm going to defer to what I laid out here on the I'm not sure. There's a big question mark. We got our 5% dip. Only 15% of the time, as I've shown before, is that it. We go up by 20%. Only 15% of the time, that is it, where we don't have to go down. Something that'll be very interesting for me is let me see if I can just pull the article up here really fast. NVIDIA 2 years, because I don't know if you know who Stanley Druckenmiller is, but he was a very big advocate for NVIDIA and said that I'll try to see if I can find the article really fast, but I don't think I will. He's a big Nvidia bull. He used to run George Soros's fund. He's a billionaire in his own right. And the reason why this is interesting is because he said, I want to own Nvidia for 2 years if I'm right about this trend, not for a couple of months. So this could be the start of that multi-year cycle where we ultimately go higher. And this shows some incredible growth. So I'll try to find the one of the chart which really relates to this. And we have to find out whether or not like Nvidia can be the king to make us grow our way out of all of this junk that we're currently dealing with. So the flip side here, we've already talked a lot about the bear case. And yes, I'm a flip flopper. Here's the bull case where if Nvidia has now pretty much told us that AI is going to be a big deal, well, maybe the broader market has to still consolidate for a little bit longer, but ultimately does go to that new high. Because if we look at this chart now that we're looking at here for the update, here's our monthly chart. So we look at where the arrow is pointing to, the red arrow. Man, it looks like Nvidia is the king. It looks like Nvidia could drag us to the promised land. Where? Right stairway to heaven, baby. Woo! We got to go to blue skies before we go to the higher highs. And Nvidia is currently in that all-time high territory. So not only will this be important here, I'm going to show you what's now tracking a little bit more closely too. I'm going to delete everything so it's a little bit easier to follow. We're looking at the red candles right here. So we got 2 red candles. So far we got 1 after going hollow for 5 in a row. So hollow 5 in a row, hollow 5 in a row. And then just look at this candle formation right here. We got 3. I'll try to get a little bit closer too. So we got 3 right here. So the first thing we do is that we go to a monthly lower low. So now let's delete those boxes. We go to a monthly lower low, but we suck back up to close above it. Well, what did we just do? I pointed it out to our group today. So if you're wondering what you get to trade with me, Justin, you can join me for 14 free days at thealgo.com. And I'll show you the note that I shared this morning, because this is where, if you're bearish, you have to know at what point you are wrong. So let me see if I can share this here right now. Here we go. Because I think the note is actually perfect. We had it for S&P and for QQQ. So this was like right as the market's opening, about a minute after the market opened, because I'm on Mountain Time. I said that monthly failed breakdown. We talked about this yesterday, and yes, failed dead. I cannot spell. You're correct. 363.42 for QQQ, 437.07 for SPY. That's a monthly failed breakdown. So what this means is that my weekend notes, and I talked about this yesterday, is that below 438, I don't see anything bullish happening. But we have to, and now how we act going up to 445 is very important. So I think I called this part pretty good. I would still rather be on the bear case, but I'm definitely seeing that bull case flexing today. So we're gonna have to see what Jerome Powell has to say here. But if we pop to our level here, man, now we're at 445.2. So we're definitely bouncing around here in after hours. We'll have to see where we settle. I think that'll happen after the Nvidia phone, after the call, the conference call. But let's not call this thing one yet. We got really competing, really strong signals from both the bulls and the bears. So if we get a little bit too cocky, right around the corner, there's usually a humbling. So what am I going to try to do? I'm going to try to remain disciplined. I'm going to try to remain patient. And patience for me just means that I need a few things to happen for me to get bullish again. Notably on the weekly chart, I have to see more than half of a week of trading, which is where we are right now on Wednesday, to say it's over. I got to see some hollow candles up with an S to signal the expansion is restarting and then continuing. And I got to see some lower lows. Sorry, got to see higher lows. So it's halfway through the week. This candle looks constructive. It's still an inside bar. So there's technically been no progress made. It's a dead cat bounce with consolidation after a 5% dip. I would not call that a win. I would call it we're going sideways between where? The red and green line. So we got our red line, which means resistance, green, which means support, and right, sure as you know what, they acted as support and resistance. Maybe because the market is acting in a predictable way. Here's another pattern. Let's look and see if this one makes sense. Okie dokie, Justin. So here's that same pattern for ES. Here we have a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder. If you don't know how to draw all these fancy lines, let's just look at the 50 DMA. So one cut, dead cat bounce. We got high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So for us to not have a dead cat bounce, it is nice that we're bouncing up. It is constructive for near the 50 DMA. It's not enough. So we got to break over this high or form basically a weekly higher high. Look at that fat candle now, 72 points. That's pretty nice. I would say that if we're able to melt over it right now, hey, that looks like really good. Back to Bulltown, back to Boomtowns, where we ultimately go higher. And after a dip where we briefly went into fear, maybe that's it. There's your snapback. That's it. Seasonality chart. We rally up to close the rest of the month out. Nvidia was the fuel after the bears got squeezed out. It's looking pretty good year to date. Nvidia delivers a higher guidance. We got Jerome Powell speaking on Friday, and ultimately the consolidation is going to lead to a higher high confirmed at the end of this month, and then at the end of next month, where we already have 4 out of 5 steps. All we got to do is do that fifth one. So what that would mean for me is that the monthly chart holds. We put in a higher monthly low versus the previous low, and then we have an inside bar, and then we break to a new high, which would just mean a new 52-week high. That's it. It's not complicated for me. So if you want to watch more, I would encourage you to watch the weekend. Actually, no, I'm going to go through one more thing here because I want to go through the below 50 DMA club to see whether or not we're actually getting more stocks which are approaching the blue line. So S&P, man, I don't know. Coin toss for tomorrow. That'll be one day. We got to get 2 to say the trend has changed. QQQ will be back above the 50 DMA. There you go. Right at that same neckline, though. So if we look here at QQQ, we have that same kind of pattern here, which is going to be competing with the uptrend where if we're able to keep going higher and also break to a new high, which for me would mean above 390 here, man, that could be it. The crash could be over. We could be heading higher. Looking at Apple, got a ways to go. So we got to see the king rejoin the party above that 50 DMA. Microsoft, it's going to be right on it here. In post-market, we're over it by 30 cents. Let's go, Bulls. Nvidia, crushing it, sir. It is up so much. It's doing pretty good here. Tesla, got a ways to go, but it looks constructive. We'll see if that Cybertruck can gain some traction like the Mars rover and go higher. SMH or chips, just below the 50, but it'll be back above it tomorrow. ARC, I want to see it move. DAX, I want to see this thing move. It's still below here. Got to see it move up. Emerging markets, man, we got a ways to go here to get to the blue line. Nikkei, it's not out of sight. I could see it getting there, forming some kind of sloppy W. And then finally, Ethereum moving higher. Thank you, Nvidia. The dips were for buy-in. Let's see if we can actually rally back up. We got to get to about 200 points higher. BTC, about the same thing. Lots of room back up to the upside. And then finally, FXI. We got a death cross it formed, which means lagging momentum. Stock is pointing down. 50 has to get hit first. Then we can get over the 200. Let's see what the bulls got. If that's enough, I'll see you tomorrow. If not, watch the weekend deep dive now queued up here on the left-hand side. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Kudos to the NVIDIA